Matthew chapter 10 tonight. I'll give y'all a second to turn there. I told Van if I could stand, I'll speak tonight, and here we are, killing it. So, at least ain't like a dipping duck anymore. There for the longest while, I was couldn't look down at all, you know. So.
We thought you was going to do it by candlelight too.
That'd have gotten interesting. We could do that. Go dip over, my eyebrows catch fire. Take that as a sign. I'm going to start in chapter 9, verse 35 in Matthew. It says, Jesus went through all the towns and villages, teaching in their synagogues, proclaiming the good news of the kingdom and healing every disease and sickness. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them because they were harassed and helpless. Like a shepherd, like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, "The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field." I found that verse or that paragraph there kind of a little bit sad. Here we have a hungry group of people that want to hear the word, that want to know more about God, and there are people there. There are people that are supposed to be shepherds. You know, we have the Pharisees and the Sadducees and all these so-called spiritual leaders. And Jesus says that these are sheep without a shepherd. They weren't really caring about the souls of these individuals. We're very blessed to have a good pastor, to have people that look after our souls. And y'all have made it very evident to me, just through acts of kindness, just through caring and things like that. But we need that. We need guidance. We need preached at, and we need taught, and all these things. But Jesus says that they didn't have a shepherd. These Pharisees, I can imagine, were more concerned about themselves and getting themselves to heaven and what they could do, and you know, more or less saying, "Do as I say, not as I do," type of situation, wearing their shiny clothes. He says the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field. This is right before, or right about the time Jesus goes to send out these 12 men that he chose. Chapter 10, verse 1 says, Jesus called his 12 disciples to him and gave them authority to drive out impure spirits and to heal every disease and sickness. Jesus knew that these guys, if he's sending them out, he needs to give them the authority to drive out impure spirits, to raise the dead, and all of these things, to show them basically the gospel message. We as human beings, we need proof, unfortunately. It's like we have to see it to believe it. And Jesus went through and he was performing all kinds of miracles. Well, he gave these 12 guys of his choosing this same power, the power that he has. Verse 2 says, "These are the names of the 12 apostles. First, Simon, who is called Peter, and his brother Andrew." This is where I found this a little bit humorous, almost interesting. Very interesting, but humorous. Simon, or the name Simon, meant shifting sands back then. Jesus changes his names to Peter, which means rock. That's important to know. And Andrew, he was the brother of Peter. He's only really listed about 12 times in the Bible. Not necessarily a pillar by human standards, you know, according back then. James, the son of Zebedee, and his brother John. And I'm getting to a point with all this. James and John had kind of a violent nature, if you will. They asked Jesus if they could call down fire on these people, you know. That's, I guess what I'm getting at is Jesus, it amazed me, the people that he called, you know. We think, well, you got to have a PhD and you got to have this and you got to have that. But Jesus called these 12 men for a particular reason. But I see me being more like the Andrew or the James and John type people. You know, Lord, just let me call down fire just one time. Bring the heat one time just to show them. You know, I could see me being that way, that imperfect person. You know, we'll teach them. Philip and Bartholomew. Philip was only listed really a handful of times in the Bible. There really wasn't a whole lot about Philip in the Bible other than him being one of the 12 apostles. Bartholomew, he was a bit of a skeptic, and I'm telling you, these people's they're bad natures for a reason. He was a skeptic, and Bartholomew also was the one that said, can anything good come out of Nazareth? Whenever they tell him that, hey, you know, Jesus the Messiah, or the Messiah is here, Jesus of Nazareth. So he's a bit of a skeptic or things like that. Thomas and Matthew, the tax collector. We know the story of Thomas. Thomas the doubter. He was always doubting everything. Matthew, he was a bit of almost, I mean, they kind of considered him a thief to some degree. A turncoat, if you will. A backstabber. You know, he was not liked by either side. You know, he was a Jewish he worked for the Romans. You know, the Romans occupied that area. Matthew took the Jewish people's money for the Romans, so as you can imagine, no one really much cared for Matthew. They didn't feel like he had anything to contribute to anything. James, son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus, Simon the Zealot, and Judas Iscariot. James is, well, Simon the Zealot. Simon the Zealot, he tried to kind of overthrow the Roman government at times. You know, that's kind of his nature. These were somewhat kind of troublemakers, some of them were. You know, not really the type of people in the beginning that you would send out on a mission trip. You ain't know what you're going to get. And Judas Iscariot, we know that he's the betrayer. It even says that usually it says his name is Judas the betrayer. So we've got a pretty good mixture of 12 not perfect people. Not only not perfect people, we have a mixture of 12 guys that Jesus is saying, hey, I'm going to give you the power that I've received. And this is after he's taught them. He's going to give them the power that he has. Send them out with this life-changing world, this mission to take the gift of salvation to the world. You know, that is a big task for the best of people, let alone putting it in the hands of these men. But Jesus knew what he was doing. He knew who he called. He knew they were. He has a way of seeing past the outer self and into the soul of people. That's what I love about that. You know, I'm going to read on. These 12 Jesus sent out with the following instructions. Do not go among the Gentiles or enter any town of the Samaritans. You can imagine kind of how that went if they were to go to the Gentiles first and not the Jewish people. The Jewish people probably would have definitely never listened to anything that they would have said if they'd went to the Gentiles first, because that was kind of a no-no. Go rather to the lost sheep of Israel. As you go, proclaim this message. The kingdom of heaven has come near. Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse those who have leprosy, drive out demons. Freely you have received, freely give. That's a very important part there. It says, freely you have received, freely you give. He's commissioned these guys. He's really commissioned all of us, but he's commissioned these guys. You have received this gift of salvation. You have received the gospel message. You know everything that I want you to know. You have received it. You go out and you preach this to everyone else so that they can receive it too. It ain't going to cost you anything. It's free. You know, nothing in life is free, they say, but the gift of salvation is free. Verse 9 says, do not get any gold or silver or copper to take with you in your belts. No bag for the journey, or extra shirt or sandals or a staff, for the worker is worth his keep. Whatever town or village you enter, search there for some worthy person and stay at their house until you leave. As you enter the home, give it your greeting. If the home is deserving, let your peace rest on it. If it is not, let your peace return to you. If anyone will not welcome you or listen to your words, leave that home or town and shake the dust off your feet. Truly I tell you, it will be more bearable for Sodom and Gomorrah on the day of judgment for that town. I found a couple really important things in there. Jesus tells them, don't take anything with you. I'm sending you out on this commission. Don't take anything with you. You're not going to need it. So they're out. They're raising the dead. They're healing the sick. Driving, cleansing people of leprosy. Who wouldn't feed one of these men if they came and healed their son or daughter? Who wouldn't have given them a meal? Jesus knows all this. The disciples, I'm sure, or the apostles, I'm sure, they didn't know. They were just being obedient. They went out and they did these things. They didn't take anything with them. It says, whatever town or village you enter, search there for some worthy person and stay in their house until you leave. He didn't tell them just go stay with anybody. We got to watch kind of where we go. He didn't say go down the street to the closest trap house, preach the gospel, and just hang out there a while. Here's why that's important. If these men were to go, he said, stay there until you leave. He didn't want them jumping around from house to house in that area. You go there to a certain town or village, then you start preaching to the people that need it most, okay? And you start gaining their confidence and they start believing. Can you imagine if they would have left that house and went to, say, some leader's house or started moving up? Well, these are more important people. I need to go stay at their house. And then the other people, the ones that need it most, would probably be angry about it. So it's like Jesus really knew what he was doing. I've heard it say this way. If you ever want to convert high school students, you go to the football, the head football quarterback and the main cheerleader, and convert them, and then maybe the rest of them will convert. But that ain't really what you do, because there's all kinds of kids over here sitting on the bench that are lost. There's all kinds of people over here that really need to hear that gospel message and are going to be very receptive to it. It says, if anyone does not welcome you and listen to your words, leave that home or town and shake the dust off of your feet. That's significant about shaking the dust off of your feet whenever they leave that house. Basically, it's pronouncing judgment on that house. Whenever the Jewish people would travel, if they had to even step on Gentile land back then, whenever they got back on Jewish land, they would literally dust the shoes off of their feet. It was a Jewish thing. It's what they did. They would literally knock the dust off their feet and then step back onto their own land, which was untainted to them. So that's significant there. I'm sending you out like sheep among wolves. Therefore be as shrewd as snakes and as innocent as doves. Be on your guard. You will be handed over to the local councils and be flogged in the synagogues. On my account you will be brought before governors and kings as witnesses to them and to the Gentiles. But when they arrest you, do not worry about what to say or how to say it. At that time you will be given what to say, for it would not be you speaking, but the Spirit of your Father speaking through you. Brother will betray brother to death, and father his child. Children will rebel against their parents and have them put to death. You will be hated by everyone because of me, but the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. When you are persecuted in one place, flee to another. Truly I tell you, you will not finish going through the towns of Israel before the Son of Man comes. This all happened. It all happened. I think there were like 10 waves of persecution that really came upon these people, these disciples. They were literally strung up in the streets and used as human lamps. They were attacked on so many different levels. I can't remember. I'm sure millions of these Christians died because of this, They were betraying not the Christian, but they were betrayed. They were, thrown in prison, their lives basically snatched away from them. What I find, and this is what I'm getting at, what I find so remarkable about this is, and I think usually this maybe just gets preached to me, but I struggle sometimes. and I'm sure I'm not the only one, I struggle sometimes with why would God use an individual like myself? Why would God use such imperfect people? There has to be someone out there better that can speak more clear, that can tell a better story, that can, get a better reaction, or whatever be the case, Somebody that doesn't have such a tainted past, like I love the song, somebody that doesn't have such a tainted past. Why did God choose us? And I speak in all of us, why us? Why did God choose these 12 men that were really nothing special, We've seen all their flaws, They had anger issues, they had trust issues, they have doubting issues. They had all the issues that we have nowadays. Why did God choose these people? Because He knew them. Jesus chose these people specifically, knowing who they were, what they had done, and what they were going to do, I think was the big thing. What they were going to do. That makes the world a difference. But it doesn't take a rocket scientist to go out and preach the gospel message. I think Paul says it, I don't come to you with eloquent and wise words. The gospel message is simple. As Jesus put it here, the kingdom of heaven has come near. And that's what He said back then. And here we are 2,000 years later. If it's even more near now. We don't have to be the smartest person out there. We don't have to have PhDs and be just a biblical scholar like none other. We do need training. Jesus trained these people. He didn't put them through a 4-year college and give them a 4-year degree and say, hey, now you can go. Now you can go do it. He sent them out like sheep among wolves, And we know how the disciples, how their stories, a lot of their stories ended. I think John was the only one that made it out alive, and he was exiled. The rest of them died pretty horrible deaths. But he trained these men, he trusted these men, he sent them out, and here we are now today, preaching the same gospel message. My message is this. Jesus' message is this. Preach the gospel to somebody. It'll change their lives, I know sometimes, I myself, we get thinking about, well, maybe I ain't the one to do it, somebody else to do it, this, that, and the other. It is our job. It really is our job. Because it says, truly I tell you, it will be more bearable for Sodom and Gomorrah on the day of judgment than for those towns. We live in those towns. We live around these people. My kids go to school, and what they come home and tell me is nothing remarkable. It's nothing short of pure evil of the times that we live in. I'm not talking bad about everybody, but I'm saying we live in some evil times. I don't see it getting any better. The gospel needs to be preached here, there, and everywhere. And that's our job. That's what our task's with. I don't want to stand before Jesus and say I didn't try. And we can say, well, I didn't know, I wasn't equipped. God don't call the equipped, He equips the called. If God brings you to something, He's going to bring you through it, and He's going to take care of you along the journey too, But I just found it remarkable of how He chose the people He wanted. And these were the people that He wanted, these broken individuals, these angry individuals that would just soon call down fire from heaven to prove a point and to, and things like that. So, and it's a short message tonight, but that's what I got. So.